And yet, as humans, we quite often seem to get drawn into complexity. And I think might be an aspect of why I don't have a great trust in the greater paradigm that's being pushed onto us in the name of, I don't know, technology and nanobots and whatever that get included in that, the transhumanist movement. I was well aware of it. Raven and I were well aware of it way before most people were. It was an aspect of what we dove into. You know, way back when there were books like Alvin Toffler, and there was a handful of books that got into these amazing concepts that caused a lot of contemplation. Like the age when information was first becoming something, and there were people saying that information will become the great commodity and stuff. And, you know, we were just kind of like, wow, but I kind of get it and stuff. Well, now it's just, that's obvious. I forgot the name of that Alvin Toffler book. It was something Wave. But, anyways, you know, are we here on this planet just to run around scared of something that we don't even know has been presented to us in full truth, and of something that we don't even know if those that present it to us know what they're doing or presenting, or if they're flailing, or if they have a plan, or whatever, all the possibilities. There's a nice big crow, or raven, I should say, sorry. There's an answer. And I just feel that there's got to be some purpose, some value behind us existing as human beings at any time. But choosing this time, it's definitely not your average time. And it definitely feels like a very pivotal time. But regardless of what people's interpretations are of what's happened and what's caused this lockdown and whether it's right or wrong, is this a life we want to live? And if these situations were to just naturally occur because of the living conditions we're in and the lifestyle and what we create and what we throw out and whatever, then should we not be turning around or taking a turn somewhere and changing what we're doing to move into a deeper connection with something more than what we have? So we're not stuck in such an existential world with so much threat, you know, and so easily manipulated by organizations that just want to break us apart and make us fight. Like some of it, I look back on the beginning of lockdown and some of the upheavals that were like poked at and aggravated by very, very wealthy people. You know, shit disturbers are what I label them as. And you can be upset if you love Bill Gates, if you love George Soros, or what's that? Oh, disgusting. Um, I'll remember his name in a minute. I was just listening to something about him last night. Oh, anyways, another manipulator. You know, and they have all the power and the money in the world. And of course, since lockdown, the fact that their value has gone up multiple times doesn't seem to make anyone question it. But I do have a problem with the idea of someone putting them on a pedestal. I think they are, if there's, I never thought evil existed. I really had a strong sense that, when I grew up, I pushed Christianity away. I saw the corruption that was involved, and I just kind of considered it all part of the same thing. I don't now see it all as one corrupt thing, but I definitely had my hate Christianity thing, and I blamed it for everything at that time. And in reaction, I explored all kinds of nature religions, if you want to call it that, indigenous forms of spirituality. But my way of seeing things and feeling things evolves. I don't know how much other people's do, but it's just in my nature. But I do believe I'm here for something, something more than just existing, even something more than just making art, and me being happy, so to speak, finding contentment and meaning. There's got to be more to it than that. And I believe there is. And there's times where I feel like I'm touching on it. I feel it almost like you have your eyes closed, but you're getting with one sense something. Other times I feel locked out from it, and other times kind of in between. So it just drifted off into thought there, contemplation. I got my main train of thought there, but I'll just step back in. I want to make what I'm calling Nomad Village at the moment. I want to create an environment that in essence is a portal, is a way beyond the trappings of this world, and almost like just stepping out of one reality and into another. So that's the energy that I'm intending as we develop Nomad Village, is a space that people can come and step out of the difficulties, step out of the pressures, step out of whatever they're going through that's too much. And for people who are feeling like they have got something, a connection, they just want to enhance it and nurture it in an environment that doesn't sort of suppress it and cut it down, and they don't have to defend. I want a safe haven, of where people can create, can get soul prints, can purchase. Maybe I'll have work from other artists as well. I don't know yet. But just a place where people can connect to these deeper levels and deeper forces and deeper energies in whatever way, whatever form, and work with them, play with them, and in essence, heal themselves. I really feel that Big Pharma has just jumped on and stolen that word. And in my deepest self, I feel that healing belongs to a different kind of understanding of healing, not to, and the word medicine as well. A bunch of synthetic chemicals that even the best of professionals only understands how it works to a certain point, and then beyond that, it's just like, oh well, luck of the draw. If it kills you, it kills you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Um, I see it as a part of, along with the whole transhumanist movement, as just an army of bulldozers just slowly moving forward and taking over. And then there's the representatives, which are the ones to entice people and convince people and go, wow, like Elon Musk. Look at this amazing, brilliant thing I came up with that sticks in your brain. Do you really think he came up with it? Or do you think he's just a front man? I don't think he has enough. I think he was handed the opportunity in some way. He has, obviously he's not stupid. But I think that these are agents, the ones that are beyond that you never see and never hear of. They don't need to be known and they don't want to be known. And then the Elon Musks of the world are in some ways, the real disgusting ones because they're kind of human and kind of not, in an essence sense of the word. They're willing to sell their own people in that sense, dupe their own people. And there's always been those people, there were black slave masters sold black slaves, white slave masters sold white slaves. Like everything's happened, you name it. Sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but I think everything's happened, every horror, and not always the way we've been taught, many times the way we've been taught, but not always. It's not the picture. It's not the whole picture. And until you get the whole picture, we get the whole picture, we're just spouting shit out of our ass, and it's just going everywhere, even if we're trying to make sense of it. We're human beings, and we're all different, and we're all the same in certain ways. And I really feel that we need to learn deeper levels of respect for each other and love for each other. I know myself, I have the capacity, because I have had the experience many times, to deeply love a person or people from any background, any skin color, any culture, you name it. None of that can get in the way. It's the being themselves. It's the arrogance or lack of, or attitude or lack of, or inflexibility or spite, or whatever it is that person carries. That's what is a difficult thing to connect with and feel love for. And I have a hard time imagining how other people can feel different. I know people can have fear. I know plenty of groups, beliefs that have a difficult time with anything that's new and different in sexuality or other, that strays from certain paths. And I've paid attention when I haven't understood these things that some could call, even if it was aimed towards sexuality, then they would be considered phobic of something. And I guess phobic is a good word to be afraid of. But I've studied and, listened to stories from people with these fears and concerns. And you don't have to embrace what someone feels and believes to understand where they're coming from, why they have a certain fear or other. You don't have to excuse anything or blame anything either, but to try and just reach out a little bit past where you have blocks and judgment is, I think, a very good thing, especially for now. The funny thing is, I just had a thought. I think my memory on the camera is just very full at the moment, and there's a good chance that none of this got recorded. So, oh well, at least I got to process. Let's just have a look. Oh, can't believe this. It is actually still going. I don't know why or how or why it stopped at 9 minutes the other day. But yeah, I've purposefully explored and try to open myself to some of the areas that I don't understand in people and how they think. And I found that it's not that hard to, if someone's really honest and heart based, that if you pay attention to where their thoughts are coming from and their stories and things, usually there's something you can start to understand. And most of the time, they're not hateful people at all. And sometimes they're just closed minded. There's those people. But there's also people who have a lot of depth of experience and a lot of depth of knowledge and actually have an opinion that they don't agree with, just like you or anyone else has of other things. And because they have that and you are not willing or desire to hear their story, doesn't matter. But maybe it's important to become a little more flexible with people's beliefs and views, and whether it's a smaller town or a bigger city. I mean, small town, people from the city call them all kinds of things if they refer to them from the city. And the city people call, or the small town people call the city people cityots. And, there's all kinds of stories, although lots of the small town people were cityots. It's like the ones that hate the city people the most are usually people that have been city people before. And I'm thinking it just brought up a memory of when I was living out west and came back for a while, well, for a long while. And there was this big hate on for Toronto from Vancouver. Everyone was going to Vancouver and everyone was leaving Toronto and everyone was judging Toronto. Like, we really have this ability to swing very abruptly and judge. Like, we have this need to judge something else that sort of makes us feel better. And I don't think it's a good human trait. I've done it and pulled out of it and stuff, to be aware of it. But I don't know. It's like this last period of time, it's just been like tippy-toeing around on rice paper, for fear that someone's going to call you this or call you that. And I had to get to a point where I had to say, I don't care what someone chooses to call me or label me. If they don't know me, then either they could make an attempt to know me before they judge me, or they can dig inside themselves and realize they do know me, and therefore their label that they started to stick on me doesn't stick. Um, or they can even ask and say, look, that doesn't seem like that's you. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding things or whatever. But people are allowed to have thoughts, and they're allowed to have, in fact, I encourage it myself, to have different thoughts that don't always match everyone else's. And that doesn't give everyone else the friggin' justification to wave a massive direction of the head turn of judgment towards them. Like, it just sickens me, and that's some aspects of human nature that I do not care for, and I see it happening a lot. Just massive forms of judgment and like disgracing people, and oh, they opened up their business, they're murderers, and this, that's just one example. And that's a lot of why I'm putting this out there. One layer is to show that people have reasons for their feelings quite often. If you look into it, you'll realize something triggered that. They're not always an asshole, and most of the time are not. And even if you see someone angry, or even people in a fight, how did that get to there? Who started what, and who triggered what, and what's beneath it? Usually a very hurt person who got angry and is angry to protect themselves from feeling so vulnerable and being so confused. Now we're in a world where everyone's afraid to touch everyone, and I'm telling you right now, it can't go on. More people are dying and going through very difficult times because of the treatment, the very, very misaligned quack treatment that has been placed on the world, mostly at large, but I'll speak for Canada. It's disgraceful, in my opinion, that when it doesn't work, all they do is up the ante rather than start from square one and rethink it and go, you know what, we fucked up. Wouldn't that be a nice beginning? We fucked up, Canada. We're going to try and figure out a new approach. Sorry, we fucked up. Maybe that's the beginning, is to admit we made a mistake in how we've dealt with this situation and maybe how we've interpreted this situation. Maybe the medical profession at large could make a big apology and say, we don't know everything, even though we think we do sometimes. Because that's where the shit stinks. And I'll take you to a little story, my own personal experience, and it's called my father. And the reason why I disowned him and won't ever speak to him, not that he wants to speak to me, is not because he was abusive, not because he sexually abused me, not because he physically abused me, not because he mentally abused me. Because later on in life, when he had the opportunity, when I confronted him many times, he could have said, like, I was young, I was fucked up, I was angry, I was whatever. And I could have easily forgiven him, thinking, okay, he was in his 20s or whatever. But no, he refused to acknowledge, and he was always arrogant and always right. And that's big pharma for you in a nutshell. My father, fucking asshole, and I'll say it because that's what I feel. And maybe I've been gifted with the grace of having a father that parallels that energetic, because anytime someone or something steps into my life, my field, that has that resonance, and it's just like a pile of shit. Smell it, I feel it, there's no mistaking it. I've met other people where right away everyone else is fooled by them, but it's the resonance, and I'm like, fuck, it's the same energy as my father. Well, Big Pharma's got the same energy as my father. Arrogant puss bag. And that has nothing, everything I'm saying has nothing to do with whether there is a virus or not, whether it was manufactured or real, just came into reality. What is a virus, all that kind of questioning. What I'm saying has nothing to do about any of that. It has no judgment. It's not saying it exists or doesn't exist. It's not, none of that. It's just saying, how about we question how it's been dealt with and the integrity or lack of integrity behind it? Because it's causing massive levels of deaths and illnesses and suffering from people who do not have the virus. And they're corralling masses of people under fear, under circumstances they cannot make proper decisions, and with lack of proper information. And I know this because I went to the pharmacy when I saw that young girl convulsing, vibrating in the chair in a way that I've never seen anyone do before. And I asked the pharmacist, I said, so what's the protocol? Do you offer them the list of ingredients so they can look through it? And do you tell them this is experimental? Do you tell them this is a fast track? Do you tell them it's not really a vaccine? Any of these things? Nope. In fact, I requested the list of ingredients and he couldn't even give it to me. How about that? So I said, so do you say anything to them when you meet them, to each person? And he said, do you have any allergies? That's it. So, folks, we're having information held back from us. We're having information pushed onto us, the false information, in my opinion. We're having media and social media control what we're fed. And yet, I don't hear or see anyone saying, what the fuck? What the fuck? It just seems so fucking obvious to me. And that's even, like I said, without questioning the other. But everyone seems to be afraid to say, what the fuck? I was afraid to do that with my father when I was young because I get a fucking backhand across the head, and then go without hearing for a month or two. It wasn't fun. I learned to not say something or to friggin' duck as I say it. But I just look around and I see all these people just buckling under, and I know you're doing it with good intent, and you believe in big pharma like others believe in God. And you know what? You've chosen a God. In truth, you have chosen a different kind of God. And I would say, even though it's got big pharma on it, it's a small, lowercase g God. It's manufactured just like everything else they shove in your face, just like the news. And I keep waiting for people to start waking up and just say, something's wrong. Why are we doing all this? Just some humanity to come back, some circulation of life and soul and love to come back into people. And maybe this whole series is a reaching out on one level to that humanity, to that soulfulness within people that seems to be just locked out. I don't know. All I know is I love people. I do my best not to go into moments of anger and judgment, but I am human. I do know that what I'm going through, if it had been in a regular time where there was no lockdown and stuff, it would have been a very different thing. I believe much easier. What makes it difficult is everything connected to it by threads that anchor it to the fact that it all came around because of this lockdown. And my belief that it was very unjustly set up and created, and a lot of the motivations behind it were very poor. Good example, you can't question because it's fact, is Ford. I keep getting mixed up whether he's Doug or Rob. I don't give a fuck. Slug or Blob, I don't know. But that Ford character, if you look him up, if you don't know about this already, he opened up a business. Perfect timing. Sort of shrink wrapping frozen dinners and stuff for people that are in lockdown. And he's making millions. Now, if you were him and you're attached to your millions, would you want to end lockdown and cut off millions of dollars in earnings for your business? You answer that. And you tell me you love that guy. And then look at Trudeau. Fucking sold Canada to the Chinese. I'm all for giving money to those who are in need. But I think there's a little bit of confusion there. And there's something else going on big time. And I'm sure many of you listening already have a feeling about that. And I'm talking about CCP, not a Chinese person. I don't see someone from a nationality much different than anyone else, the individual. In fact, I have a lot of love and care for anyone, and I am concerned for populations in China that are under that kind of regime. I was listening to, oh God, and I can't remember it exactly, Mao back in his time. He came up, oh, that was it. He came up with something very similar to what Gates is doing, buying massive amounts of land and saying that he will take care of everyone, growing their food and whatever. And that's the part from this point on I can't remember exactly. So it's something you'd have to look into, but obviously it was history. It's already happened. So there was a result to what he did that was very much the same as what Gates is doing. So if you're interested, have a look at what happened, what the results were of what Mao did. It wasn't good. I remember that. It was horrible. The results, a lot of starvation. I think it was like one of the largest manufactured starvations of masses of people or something like that. So keep that in mind when you go on about how wonderful Bill Gates is and he can't do anything but wonderful stuff. Keep in mind, and it may sound jaded, and I'm not saying there aren't people that can't have the wonderful good of all in their minds, but Gates is not one of them, in my opinion. Keep in mind, if you put too much into one person, too much power, too much confidence, it's a very dangerous thing. And these people in the past who, people didn't get into power unless someone felt that they should be and that they were a great person. And then these things go in a twist. So I think it's very important to research history and see what's happened so far before people jump to the conclusion that everyone right now in power, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Schwab, that's it, Klaus Schwab, um, George Soros, many of them. If someone out there just thinks they are the cat's meow and they're wonderful people and they're so giving and caring, just do a bit of research and you realize there is no such thing. No such thing. People with that much power, it's a whole other thing. And I'll tell you, Trudeau is squirming to get by himself some freedom. He knows what's going down, and he wants to invest in with who he thinks will be the winners. He's buying his little cottage for retirement, you might say. Trudeau doesn't even know what difficulty is. You know how many houses he has? And they're not houses, they're mansions, by the way. I invite people to, just like when you sit in the sun and it starts to warm you up and your circulation starts to move again, blood starts to flow, your heart just feels freer. I ask people to just maybe let that happen, invite that to happen with their connection in their heart, their soul, and just ask within the questions you have, and then just wait for a while and be patient for an answer. Because I see masses of people herded together and have been convinced to worship a false god, a blind god. I'll use the term big pharma just for an easy way. There's more to it than that. If you want to just group everything, Monsanto and everything, into a big pharma, well, then I'll use that term freely. But we got some very unfriendly creatures that are, they're not human. There's humans powering giving energy to those creatures. And those creatures are not like a visible whole, they're something else. But they take shape in the form of giant corporations and factories and other, they're not saying that there aren't corporations with soul, believe me, but I'm talking about these big controlling, super powerful ones. They've lost any sense of humanness. Even the slightly smaller thing, even, I don't know, Hydro One and various companies we well know. Yeah, an individual that you call up might be really nice, and if you press them a little bit with your situation, they can even feel for you and wish that they could do something. Or insurance companies or loan companies. Don't fool yourself. They just want to make their money. They just want to increase their chances of making more. There's no heart and soul there. How can we bring the heart and soul into these soulless entities that are now starting to control us? And then with the transhumanist movement and now introducing uh, mRNA into people's systems that develops uh, there's a lot going on that most people don't know about because they are not willing to read a lot. But there's some ugly heads rising. And we do have the intelligence and the heart and the power to stop this stuff from happening. It's not life affirming. And all I can say is I'm going to do my part in helping people wake up in their own time. I'm not making anyone wake up. You can't do that. You got to invite people to come to a place where they can heal, where they can relax, let down their guard, and go through whatever it is that has healing potential. And frankly, I've spent my lifetime on a very specific focus for healing. It's not the sum total. It's not that simple, as if everyone knows. But I've developed and uncovered what I find to be and many people who've come to me find to be a very profound opportunity for healing. And healing being a much wider, all-encompassing term other than take this thing and it'll push out that, or mask this,